everyone. Welcome to another special edition of the preview show delivered by FedEx. I'm your host, Alan Cavanna, back with our panel of NASCAR.com experts. We're heading to the Eliminator Round, and I want to start this show off by just breathing.
Who do you kick it off?
No, because we got through Talladega. I'm
glad we don't get kicked off the show as we go along.
I know, no one's eliminated yet, but let's wait till the end of the show. But it came down to the last lap of Talladega to determine the final 8 of the Eliminator Round. So let's take a look at who's still left, of course. We've got Joey Logano, Kevin Harvick, Ryan Newman, Denny Hamlin, Matt Kenseth, Carl Edwards, Jeff Gordon, and Brad Keselowski. And we all saw that Brad Keselowski is on that list because of his win at Talladega. So Brad Parrott, I'm going to throw this to you. The field had its shot at eliminating Brad Keselowski, and they missed. Do you think that comes back to haunt the other 7 drivers in the Eliminator Round?
Wow. Brad Keselowski won the race that he had to win. And yes, those 7 guys will pay the price when it comes. I'm not sure what race it's going to be, whether it's Martinsville. I doubt it's Martinsville, but it's probably going to be Texas. But he's going to get himself in them Final 4, and watch out, Homestead. How could you win the race that you had to win?
Yep.
It's crazy.
It'd be a lot easier without him for those other 7 guys. Well, Keselowski made it, but some other big names did not, namely the 300 cars. Jimmy Johnson, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Casey Kane, they are not a part of this Eliminator Round. Now, Chris Rice Jr. was your championship pick to win. So
it still is.
What happened? Oh, it still is. Yeah. So tell us, how surprised are you that Dale Jr.'s out, and does this help Jeff Gordon with the other 300 cars out?
Well, I'm really surprised that Dale Jr.'s out for Junior Nation because I really wanted him in there to win it. But you know what? I go back and look at Kansas. That was the turn right there when he blew the tire, hit the wall. You know, it shows you in this format, you cannot have a mulligan. And he had a shot. He could have won Charlotte. He should have won Talladega. You know, so I look at it as in, hey, yes, my championship hope is out, but what a heck of a race it was at Talladega.
Yeah, and 300 cars are out, but the 2 Joe Gibbs Racing cars are in. Marty Snider, you've been talking about it since the beginning, that if these JGR cars can make it through, cars are going to be reckoned with. So can 1 or 2 of these cars make it to the Final 4 of Homestead?
I think yes. I mean, I think you look at the tracks that they have in this section, they're very good. And I think, in fact, if you look at the Final 4 tracks, there's really not a weak track for Gibbs. You look at Martinsville, they're both very good there. Matt Kenseth and Denny Hamlin. Texas, they're both very good traditionally. They both won there in the past. Phoenix, they're very good. Homestead, they should be very good. You go to the bumpy and rough mile-and-a-half racetracks, that's where Gibbs has been very good this year. So I think they'll be very good in these Final 4 races.
And let's not forget about some of the other drivers we've been talking about, namely Ryan Newman and Denny Hamlin. You were the only one to have Ryan Newman going all the way to the Final 8. So one position at least, one driver of the 4 in Homestead will advance based on consistency. Do you see a guy like Carl Edwards or like Denny Hamlin going on based on consistency?
Well, I do think that they have, everybody's got a chance, obviously, and it's all new. And like we talked about, you know, between Kansas and Charlotte, it doesn't take much for you to get out of this format. But I think that Ryan, I mean, I've watched him all year. He's so quiet, but he's been so consistent. And I mean, he had a great shot to win that race. He was another guy that could have knocked Brad out of the way. I still think Ryan's going to be there at the end, but it's going to be tough for him to get the Final 4, but I think he could be at the bottom of it. But all those guys have got great chances, but, you know, it's going to come down to some luck as well.
It's, like you said, it's about consistency. And these guys, there's going to be 4 guys that have trouble at Martinsville. They're not going to finish in the top 10 because they're either going to get crashed, they're going to have a flat tire, they're going to burn their brakes up, they're going to do something that messes their average finish up, and you got to have definitely a top 8 average these next 3 races.
And you bring up a good point because there are a lot of drivers outside this top 8, a lot of good drivers, and so far every race in the chase has been won by a driver still in contention for the championship. Now in these next 3 races, do you think someone outside the top 8 wins one of the races? Because
absolutely.
If it happens, that means that's major implications on who goes to Homestead.
I mean, certainly when you go into Martinsville, you got to think Jimmy Johnson. I mean, you know, he led the most laps here in the spring and should be one of the dominant cars, right? So you would think Jimmy Johnson could win Martinsville, and he's outside the top 8, obviously.
How about Kyle Larson? Let's look at Kyle Larson. He's almost fooled it here recently, so I think it's time for him to win.
And if he wins, then that's another position
Could happen
based
in
on
Texas,
consistency,
consistency
for one of these guys.
Won't happen in Martinsville. He hates Martinsville. I don't know how many times in the last 3 weeks he's told me he hates Martinsville. He tested, didn't want to go test there. He hates it so much.
He can't run the outside.
Yeah, can't get up against the wall.
It's the curb.
There's no outside lane at Martinsville, Kyle.
You know, we're Kyle Larson doing something right when we have the final 8 and we're still talking about Kyle Larson.
Yeah.
Exactly. But we've got 3 more races. Crew chiefs, drivers, analysts, I want to know, they're all very different tracks. What or where are you worried about in the next 3 races if it's going to hinder you from getting to Homestead? What are you worried about, Bobby Labonte?
Martinsville. I think that you can get collected in something pretty quickly there. Knock a hole in the radiator. The 2 car's probably going to get beat up a little bit.
I would say a lot.
Yeah, I'd say a lot. And I didn't do that.
It's kind of hard to do at Martinsville, by the way.
Yeah, we'll see.
I've never seen that happen there.
I think it's team dependent. I think there are certain guys worried about Martinsville. There are certain teams worried about Texas. There are certain teams worried about Phoenix. You know, I think it just depends on where your team runs well. That's the track you're worried about.
I don't think it's the racetracks I'm worried about. I'm thinking that these guys have to make pit stops. They have to race against 42 other race cars. The worry I have is running 500 laps at Martinsville, and when do I pit? Okay, let's get 2 tires here. Let's get 4 tires. Let's stay out. Well, 4 tires are better at Martinsville. So we'll see.
All right, and to advance to Homestead, the easiest way, as we talked about, is getting a win. And we love to try to pick winners here on the preview show. So Brad Parrott, we're going to start with you. Who's going to win in Martinsville?
The 3 Hendrick drivers helped Jeff Gordon win the race.
Jeff Gordon. Marty Snider, who's winning?
I'm going to go with the Gibbs car, but not the Gibbs car you would think I would go with. I'm going to go with Matt Kenseth this weekend. He's been so strong at Martinsville, finished 2nd in this race last year, 6th there in the spring. I think he's going to be a surprise winner this weekend.
Bobby Labonte?
I think Harvick's probably going to, he used to be able to drive back and forth, but he can't now. But I think that he could. If he holds it together, he could win that race.
Yeah, he still can drive back and forth.
He can hold it together, he can win.
I'm going with the 11, and you know why? Let's look at the tire they're on. Everybody go do their homework. Let's look at the tire they're on and see how dominant the 11 car was there.
I like Brad Parrott's pick. I'm going with Jeff Gordon. He has 8 grandfather clocks. Why not get number 9 and a first-class ticket right to Homestead? Thank you guys for joining us. I can't wait to do this in a few weeks when we get ready to go to Homestead. And thank you guys for watching the preview show delivered by FedEx. Have a great weekend, everybody.